Okay, I guess we're live. Day 3. Okay. So, this is day 3 of Everstream. The idea is to build a stream that lasts forever. That's the call to action for myself. And yeah, last stream, I ended up making a sound handler that takes a folder. You can see it here. Takes a folder and it selects a track and it displays it in this little widget. And that means that we can kind of listen to a whole bunch of listen to tracks, and they'll just keep playing. And then when they hit the end, they'll go to the next track. So that was a very simple thing to do. But in general, I'm kind of following a list that I made in Notion, and I'll just quickly bring it up here. Here we go. So what I'm doing is I'm going through each of these different subjects, and actually, I started with the planning document. We did that. That's what I'm doing here. Music and sound we've got. We're more like music, I would say. Day 3 I missed. In fact, what is today? Technically day 5, and I've missed a couple. That's all good though. So, a couple other things have come to me in the last little bit. One is interfacing with ChatGPT. And this is really cool. Basically, I've been learning how to do some Python coding using ChatGPT, and it builds scripts for me and I implement them. Last couple days, I got those scripts running in touchdesigner, which is really exciting. It means that I can build interfaces and interact with Python using touchdesigner, and also, as of today, I can interact with ChatGPT using touchdesigner. So I'm not exactly sure what that's going to look like, but I'm going to mess with it and we'll see. So, interfacing with ChatGPT and then generally kind of building a Python script interface. That's one thing. But I think that we should just go straight to virtual avatar today, because that's something I've been wanting to do for a while, and it would just be great to have something that so I don't have to necessarily show my face. That's kind of interesting. So right now we are in the audio handler. Oh, look at that. I had the video handler already, like this. I'm going to call that this. Let's see if I can do this real quick. Crap. My video has probably stopped working at this point. Pixels 2. There we go. And hopefully it's back and working again. It is. Nice. It's a bad place for my video. Okay. So we got the video handler. We have the audio handler. What if we made a character handler? Character. Or let's call this the avatar. So the avatar I imagined to be a 3D character. And really quickly, I'm just gonna do this so I can see where this is. Background top, out one. This layout is like that. So, kind of wish this was in the upper right. I wonder if I could just scoot it over that way. Just kind of temporarily. Yeah. So we got our avatar. We have our out. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, first off, this is not big enough. Let's make it 1280 by 720. Like that. And let's bring it back a little bit. Oh, interesting. So it's actually as big as the whole scene. That's okay. We'll adjust the size and stuff later. But we can see it's definitely there. Okay, well, the first thing I'm going to do is make a sphere. And that would be a piece of geo. I'm going to make the rendering pipeline. So the rendering pipeline starts with a piece of geometry. Next you have a camera, like this. You have a render node that's rendering the camera. And you have a light, of course. There we go. And in its very most basic form, there is a kind of like a character renderer. It's kind of funny. One thing I'm noticing is that this is over the top of our widget, so I'm going to actually see if I can change the alignment order using this. I thought that worked, but I'm not sure why it's not. I thought that would do a z-depth kind of thing. So one way you can kind of control things is by the order. So if I were to make, let's see if I can change the order of the windows. There we go. Just by changing the name. Okay, so we have this avatar, and it's just this right now, just a torus. But let's make it a little bit more interesting. And the reason I want to make it more interesting is because I want to be able to see if something is happening to it. So, real quickly, a sphere, just using that as kind of like the most basic thing. Just kind of like the base, I guess. And now I'm going to take, I've just made a smaller sphere, taking it, transforming it smaller, and I'm going to merge it back in, like that. Now I'll take this and I'm going to translate it until I can see it. There we go. And then like that. And let's do this again. Let's do the same, but this time negative, positive. Okay, so this is like the, that's the left eye, L-I, and this is the right eye, like so, and why not? Let's just do a mouth too. Mouth. I'm going to translate it downwards, don't offset it, and scale it like that, and like that. Okay, so this is really just very simple so that we can kind of do some fun stuff with it. So, alright. Well, first thing I want to do is I want to be able to look with the character. And how should I do that? Well, it seems like I could get the panel location of the mouse. So first I'll try that. Panel. It's grabbing the avatar. And you can see right off the bat that I am getting some stuff here. Roll. Roll R, roll B. So I'm just going to select that out. Select the roll R, roll B, roll U, roll B. And I know that I can, I could have just entered that into the scope here and select, but I'm going to keep it this way and you'll see why a little bit later. So now this is interesting. Now that I have these two numbers, what I could do is I could just rearrange them using a math node, like that. Take them from 0 to 1 and make them like negative 45 to 45 kind of thing. And then I could use this to drive the rotation of the face. Let's try it. Rotation. Let's make it the Y rotation would be on the Y-axis, which is to the sky. So X is U, horizontal. We'll give that Y rotation. Look at that. V is vertical. X is the horizontal. So do X. And you can see it's inverted, so we can do negative. Look at that. Okay, so automatically, or already, we have this kind of like orienting to the mouse thing. And there's something I don't quite like about it, and that's that right now, if I take the mouse off of the screen, it just gets stuck there. So one thing I think we should do is select something here. Do you see how there's this thing inside? Inside says whether or not the mouse is actually inside the panel. So I'm going to select out the inside. And I'm going to use it to multiply this guy. Say math. And I'll say that my combine chops will be multiply, like that. So this way, when inside isn't there, when it's not inside, it's giving a value of 0, and that's multiplying the rotation values by 0. That way, it'll always snap back when it's not inside. If you want it to be a bit nicer than that, you can add a lag, like that. And you'll see it kind of bounces up. Increase the lag time to 1. Looks back. I kind of like that. Okay, but there's another thing I don't quite like about this, and that is that it's actually just kind of faking the look at. So it's not actually looking at our mouse pointer. What it's doing is it's rotating based on our XY. So while that works, I would love it if I could have it look exactly at where I'm pointing. I basically want to be able to know where I'm pointing in space. So to do that, I was thinking of doing something along the lines of having a render pick and having a plane on the front of the camera that allows to get the intersection point between the mouse and the screen. But that might take a little bit more time, so I'm going to leave that system to be upgraded a bit later. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix this little error here. You can see it doesn't actually pick up here. The reason is because Audio Handler right now does not allow click-through, and also kind of takes over. So let me see if I can just get that to not take over. We don't actually really need to interact with the per session or with this little audio thing. So what if I turn that off? Does not work. Layout. I thought that I would be able to turn off picking up the mouse, essentially. I don't think so. It seems like it lets... Yeah, interesting. So, click through I thought would actually let you click through. But if we turn those off, of course there's no issue. And if we put this behind, then of course there's no issue either. I mean, that's one possible thing, is just leave it behind. That way it's not a big deal. Okay. So now that we have this little character, we have it moving. What else, what other kind of things might we want to do? And I'm just going to use a little dat real quick, like a table, to kind of brainstorm some stuff that would be useful for this avatar to have. So do after, first thing is blink. That's a good idea. And some other things like happy. I want to be able to show that you're happy. You're sad. Tired? I'm not sure. Should definitely be able to show that it's speaking. Speaking. You can also say distracted or focused. So each of these things would basically be something that would impact the avatar. And before we even get into that, I think what I'd also like to do is import a custom model for the avatar, so it's not just this guy. So for that, I'm going to quickly go into Blender and see what I've got here. I'm fairly certain I have another model that I could use. Okay, this seems like a decent file to use just as a test. And I'm going to do just a quick thing. Upper eyelid. I'm going to name a couple things. Upper eyelid, lower eyelid. These are eyeballs. Skull. Plane. Okay, take this whole thing, export it as an FBX. I'm going to do it to my Everstream folder. And I'll do avatar v1. Let's check it out. Let's see how it works. So I'm going to go in here and let's, for the time being, we're not really using this area, so I'll turn this into a text port. And then I will drag this down here. Nice. Okay, so let's go inside of our avatar. Like that. So our avatar, gonna collapse this and change the component into a piece of geometry. Test avatar. And because we're rotating the thing above, let's see, let's call this handler. This is avatar. Because we're rotating the avatar component here, if I go inside, it doesn't really matter if I turn this off or add stuff inside of it. So I'm going to add an FBX here, like that. And then I know that I'm saved to Everstream, so I know that if I checked out avatar.fbx, and this won't work right off the bat because it's a expression, but avatar.fbx should work. I'll hit import. It says nothing. Did I name it avatar? Or is it avatar v1? There we go. Nice. So right off the bat you can tell it's really way too big. I'm going to do import scale 0.1. There we go. Alright, so right off the bat it's already kind of interesting. It's nice to see an actual 3D model. So I'm going to do -90 rotation. Actually 90. And I can see that it's actually really strange. Let's do this again. Let's do 0.005. Import. 0.01. 0.005. Nice. Okay. So you can see it's kind of following the mouse a little bit. It definitely is. One thing I'm not liking right off the bat is the fact that the lighting looks so bad. So, real quickly, I'm just going to create an environment light. I'll create a ramp. Like that. Gonna make it vertical. No. I'm going to change these so that it's black on the bottom and white on the top. I've attached that to the environment map. And then what you may guess is that, or may know, is that environments only affect things that have PBR materials. So if this whole thing had a PBR material, it would affect it. But because everything has its own individual material, we need to apply PBR materials to all this. So I actually did this in a different tutorial. So what I'll do quickly is just go and pick up the code from the other tutorial. Let's find that file like that. I'm gonna open, oops, recent moth interaction. Let's see, is this the right one? Hope so. This is it. Cool. Okay, so in this file, what I did was I created a little thing here that says use this opfind to find all the PBRs or all the materials that are inside. this here looks for materials that are inside this component. It goes through and it changes them all to PBRs, and then it changes the base color. So I'm going to steal this like that and go back and paste. So this is going to look instead inside of FBX1 like that, and then it's going to, I'm going to quickly just comment out the last three and insert it as the callback stat like that. And now when I import this, import, there we go. When I import, it runs the callbacks and then it converts everything to PBR. One thing I'm noticing right off the bat is that it's actually 45 frames a second, which already is pretty lame as far as performance goes. So what I'm going to do is check that. So look at this, it says that 9 milliseconds are being spent on the all PBR script, which is pretty interesting. I don't actually know why. It might be because this is always cooking. So if we take this and just say active cook off, pulse. Seems like it might be always running. I'm not sure why that would be. Pulse. What happens if I run this? Huh. Interesting. Well, it was the op-find constantly running and then running the script that was doing that. So now we have this, and what it's doing is it's applying, it's changing the existing material types to PBRs. And so what you'd want to do is go in and change the material aspects for each one. For example, the face, like this, is very matte. So if I went into here and I change the reflectivity, yeah, then you start getting something interesting. Having a lower reflectivity really helps, or sorry, roughness, really helps bring out more detail. This one does not seem to have a PBR attached to it. These are the eyes, and so maybe the eyes want to have low roughness and then high emission or something. Low specular level. One thing that really impacts whether or not something feels as though it's emitting is bloom. And so it's pretty important to have a bloom post-process on something in order to make it feel glowy. So what we could do is we could just try doing that really quick. So in order to do a bloom post-process, we'll use a pre-made thing from the palette. And what I will do is also make sure that our pixel rendering is higher than 8-bit. We'll go into the palette like that. We'll go into image filters and find bloom. There it is. We'll run this through like that. And then you'll see we'll have a bunch of parameters here. We can change the intensity. But threshold's the most important thing. Decrease the threshold or increase the threshold. That means something has to be brighter in order for it to be picked up. And I'm going to go quickly back into here, into the avatar. Now, I'm going to go inside. I'm sorry. I'm going to open a floating network like that. I'm going to go inside and find this material. I'm just going to see if I can, if just increasing this makes it glow more. And it does. So what that means to me is that we could still increase our threshold even more, and then we can increase our emission to meet it, so only the eyes are glowing. I'm going to take the let's see, intensity, play with that a little bit. Too much. Blur size is already quite large. Let's just see bloom level. Just playing around here. Maybe the threshold is too high. I don't really want the part on the nose to be glowing. I'd rather that it just be just the eyes. So maybe it's too high. Durations, intensity. I don't think I know enough about this to really be making good decisions with it. We can keep it here for now though, just for fun. Okay, so now we have the glow, and we just need to add it back onto. In fact, I'll actually use comp. I'm gonna use this comp it back on, and use add, and make sure they're in the right order. Maybe I'll use screen instead. Screen. It didn't work. Dodge. I mean, add should work. I think what I'm finding is that I'm surprised that it's adding the black. So let's quickly see. 16-bit float. 16-bit float. Yeah. I was under the impression. Ooh, that's kind of nice. That's really what I want. Just like that. So I changed the output pixel format, and then I changed the threshold. So it was before. What happens if I basically trying to get it to just only add its light values. So what happens if I do crop or resize resolution? Change this to 8-bit. It actually works. Kind of surprised by that. Now it's only adding the glow parts. Still not quite getting the effect I want, but it definitely adds a little niceness there. Let's add one more thing while we're at it, since we're doing post-processing stuff. Let's pull a depth layer. Like that. Take the render, drag it into the depth, and we're going to want to remap this so that we can actually see what's going on. We want to have a nice smooth gradient here. First I'll invert it, and then I'll affect this. Minus. Let's try changing the contrast. Higher brightness. Okay, so now we're getting a nice gradient, and you can use black level probably to make it a bit more contrasty. Okay, that seems decent. Alright, so we're going to take this, and we're going to put this onto LumaBlur. Like so. Impact it with this, make sure it says luminescence, and now we're changing the blur that's applied to the blacks, like that, and keeping the whites. Now we've got a little bit of a depth of field thing going on. Okay, so this is kind of the beginning of what I'm thinking. It is showing a character. The head's quite large, but it's showing a character. I'll scale it down a little bit. And this character can be controlled by the mouse. And in the future, I'll be able to do things with basically controlling it. I mean, what's happening is I'm getting data in from my video handler here. We don't have it here yet, but if I do OSCN and I copy the information from here, copy this, it's the local address, and then here the port is 3335. If I take that, oops, you can see I'm getting data from this. So what I want to do is basically take this data and use it to rotate my head so that I have control over my avatar. Okay, but as of right now, that's all I'm going to do for the moment. I've made some progress, and I'm going to leave it at that. So see you for the next one.